I can still recall how she walked into our home that fateful morning, her presence illuminating the space as though nothing could diminish her glow. She was radiant, her hair casually tousled, her smile wide and carefree, as if she had just returned from a lavish retreat. The soft rustle of her bag landing on the entryway table was followed by her laughter, a sound that once made my heart soar, but now felt like the cruelest cut. Clutching my coffee mug, I pretended to scroll through my phone, though my chest felt heavy with an unbearable weight. "Morning, babe," she chirped, leaning in to kiss my cheek. Her lips were soft and familiar, but there was something hollow in the gesture, a practiced ease that made my stomach churn. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile that never quite reached my eyes. My knuckles turned white around the mug as I held myself back from blurting out everything I knew. Confrontation would come, but not like this. Not now. I wanted her to face the truth, to confront it head-on with no room for denial. My name is Daniel, and for 8 years I was married to Claire. On the surface, we were the perfect couple. Steady careers, a beautiful home in Willow Heights, and a love story that seemed ripped straight from the pages of a romance novel. She was my everything. The college sweetheart who would laugh at my awkward jokes. The woman who cried tears of joy when I proposed at sunset. Together, we built a life that felt unbreakable, or so I thought. The cracks began to show about a month ago. At first, they were small and barely noticeable. Late nights at work, an increasing attachment to her phone, an air of detachment I couldn't quite place. I chalked it up to stress. After all, her role as a designer at Nova Vision, a fast-paced tech firm, often came with high demands. But then the excuses started piling up. Business dinners that didn't add up, a girls' trip that seemed hastily planned. I caught her turning her phone away when notifications lit up the screen. It was a gut feeling at first, that gnawing instinct you try to push away because the alternative is simply unthinkable. But suspicion has a way of taking root, growing deeper until it consumes every waking thought. One evening, when she was working late, I gave in to the paranoia. I opened her laptop, an action I despised myself for even considering, and there it was. An email thread she had forgotten to close. The name Ryan appeared too often, in a context that felt far too personal. He was her colleague, someone I had briefly met at a company event. I remembered shaking his hand, completely unaware that this man was slowly dismantling my marriage from the inside out. The evidence piled up, a hotel reservation in both their names, a series of texts that left no room for doubt. Still, I hesitated. Confronting her felt like stepping off a cliff into the unknown. What if I was wrong? What if I was overreacting? But then I found the final piece. A photo buried in her phone. The two of them at a rooftop bar, her head resting on his shoulder as though it belonged there. That night, while she was at one of her supposed work dinners, I set up a small camera in our living room, discreetly placed to capture everything. Her laughter, their closeness, the way they stumbled into the space we once called ours, completely unaware of the sanctity they were shattering. I saved the footage, edited it into a concise montage, and uploaded it to a folder I labeled Claire's Choices. The next morning, I connected it to the living room TV. When Claire returned home, she was full of lightness and ease, tossing her jacket onto the couch and greeting me with the same practiced charm. I played my part, keeping the anger and heartbreak bottled up inside. As she settled onto the sofa, scrolling through her phone, the sound began, her laughter mingling with the low hum of a crowded room. Her gaze snapped up to the screen, the color draining from her face as she saw herself seated too close to Ryan, her hand lingering on his. The video shifted to their entry into our living room, their bodies intertwined. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling as her phone slipped from her hands. I stood behind her, arms crossed, my face calm though every nerve of my body screamed. "You tell me, Claire." She scrambled for the remote, but I was faster, snatching away before she could stop the playback. "No," I said sharply, my tone leaving no room for argument. "You wanted to keep this from me? Then watch. Watch what you've done." Tears welled in her eyes as the footage continued, each moment playing out in damning clarity. "Daniel, please," she began, her voice cracking. "This isn't." Don't insult me with excuses. I interrupted, my voice steady but cold. Her tears flowed freely now, streaming down her face as she pleaded for understanding, for forgiveness. But the image of her and Ryan laughing together, as if the life we built was nothing more than a footnote, was seared into my mind. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I love you, Daniel." The words escaped her lips, but they only made me laugh, bitterly. "You call this a mistake? Bringing him here into our home? Into the life we built together?" She reached for me, but I stepped back, raising my hands as though warding off a threat. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice calm but laced with venom. From the shelf beside me, I grabbed a folder and threw it onto the coffee table in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, her hand shaking as she opened it. "Your future," I replied. "Inside were the divorce papers, signed and ready to file. You don't get to destroy everything and walk away unscathed, Claire. Actions have consequences." Her sobs turned into frantic protests, but I shook my head. "You already made your choice. Now I'm making mine." As I turned to leave, her cries echoed in the room, but I didn't look back. With every step toward the door, the weight I had carried for weeks began to lift. Outside, the crisp air filled my lungs, and for the first time in a long while, I felt free.